Almost a decade ago, the sequel trilogy began with the release of The Force Awakens, and soon after we saw a whole wave of LEGO Star Wars sets released to promote this new movie. Throughout the following years, despite the hate the sequels were starting to get, LEGO continued to make large waves of sequel sets, some very good sets and some very bad. Today I want to look back at the sets we have seen in this period of LEGO Star Wars and answer the question whether the several waves of sequel sets were bad or whether they were really good. First, looking at some of the best sequel sets, I want to look at the 3 X-Wings we have seen based on these movies. All 3 of these X-Wings were exceptionally good sets, and personally I think the Resistance X-Wing from 2016 is one of the best LEGO Star Wars X-Wing we have ever seen, with a beautiful blue and grey color scheme and an incredible build. The X-Wing from the year prior is a very good set as well, with almost an identical build just with an orange and black color scheme, which I am not really a fan of, but objectively this was a really good set. Much later in 2020 we saw the updated version of Poe's X-Wing, and that was in a beautiful orange, blue and white color scheme, with an updated build and all around a really cool X-Wing set. The Resistance Bomber is an underrated set that is often overlooked, and I think it is easily one of the best sequel-based sets LEGO has ever released. Like the 2016 X-Wing, this ship has the blue and grey color scheme, which works perfectly, and the whole build is just so cool with so many good features. The minifigure selection is a perfect selection as well, enough to fill every turret and seat in this set, which is something every LEGO Star Wars set should include. This is one of my favorite sets in my personal collection, and I wish we could see sets with this quality all the time. Another more forgotten set is the Resistance Troop Transporter, which I think is a really unique and fun playset. I really like sequel sets for the reason that they have so many cool play features that look and feel really good, which other sets at the time didn't really have that much in my opinion. This ship had a whole interior and could open up almost completely to reveal places for the characters to sit or stand, as well as a nice pilot seat in the cockpit. It had everything this ship needed to succeed as a LEGO set, and personally one of my favorite sets from The Force Awakens. The Pisana Speeder Chase isn't a set many would consider an exceptionally good set, but I still want to mention it as I really like it, and I think it is a really unique set from this movie. I think the speeders look really cool, and speeders are a massive part of Star Wars, and these are some of the coolest speeders that LEGO has depicted, in my opinion at least. I also want to note that the Rey in her white outfit is a really good minifigure and really affordable to add to collections today, which is always a very good thing. A set from The Last Jedi is the massive heavy assault walker that turned out to be an incredible set. We don't often see all grey vehicles in dark grey pieces, so this was definitely a nice alternative for a change, and the build was just really cool with once again a few very fun features. The sequels had really good ship and vehicle designs, as well as good character designs, which LEGO could portray perfectly despite the general bad storyline. The best version of the A-Wing in the scale has to be the Resistance A-Wing, with a perfect build, a beautiful color scheme, and just a near perfect set. I really like the A-Wing in universe, and the ship looks almost identical in the sequels and the original trilogy, so more reason to love this set. The minifigures are really cool also, including Snap Wexley and Lieutenant Connix, but I really think a third minifigure could make this set really perfect. The dark green and white looks really cool on the build, with that small touch of gold to round it all off and make it such a great little set. A much smaller but really good set is the Duel on Starkiller Base, a $20 playset depicting Rey and Kylo Ren's duel from The Force Awakens. This set is honestly much better than the other duel set of the time, the Duel on Mustafar, purely for the build. The minifigures are fairly boring in the sense that we have seen them so many times before, but the actual build is just so good and has good play features and good displayability, not really expected from a $20 set of this nature. The final really good set I have on this list is the Millennium Falcon, which I have included because it was the first Falcon to bring this new design to the table. The new and improved shape of the Falcon and the more connected flaps really makes this set so desirable and better than the previous playset Millennium Falcons. And once again, the physical build of the ship could go as a sequel or original trilogy set, the ship staying mostly the same throughout the movies. The 7 characters included are also really cool, a fun mix of characters to bring this set to life. The icon being Lando in the set as he looks so good in the yellow once again. Before reaching the more negative side of this video, if you enjoy these videos consider subscribing as it really supports this channel. Now I want to talk about some bad sets that we have seen in the sequel lines of LEGO Star Wars sets, because despite the lineup of really good sets, there are some incredibly bad sequel sets that are some of the worst LEGO Star Wars sets in general. Jumping right to it, I had to include Kylo Ren's Command Shuttle, specifically the first version in the Inaccurate grey color scheme. This was quite a good set, just really inaccurate to the movie, which gave it a bad reputation. However, we did see an updated version of the set released alongside The Rise of Skywalker in the accurate black and red color scheme, which looked really good. This earlier version looks much worse comparing to the newer version and is overall a bad set for that reason alone, and in general I am not really a fan of Kylo Ren's shuttle in the first place. Another set that is bad for its inaccuracy is the First Order Heavy Scout Walker. This set isn't necessarily inaccurate, the main issue is that it wasn't even shown in the movie and it is based only on concept art. Regardless, it's not really an interesting build, and I think sequel sets based on Resistance vehicles look so much cooler than the First Order vehicles, but that's my personal opinion of course. The minifigures were decent, a little bit boring, and I think the set doesn't compete with the really good sets previously mentioned. The Resistance Transport Pod is a set that I think is just purely bad. The ship itself is so uninteresting and looks kind of like the side cockpit piece on the Resistance Transporter, just a bit oversized. But in general, it is barely a ship on its own then. The minifigures are incredibly boring as well, with no especially appealing aspects whatsoever to make the set worth buying. The Sith TIE Fighter is another generally uninteresting set, and despite the ship being quite cool, I'm not a fan of this set at all. It looks incredibly flimsy and unfinished, with a stand needed to hold it up because of the wing shape. I think in general this design for a TIE Fighter is a bit strange because of the wings in an awkward position for landing, so that and the unfinished look to it is why I had to mention it as one of the worst sets from this line. The final set that I have to mention, which is generally considered one of the worst LEGO Star Wars sets, is the First Order AT-ST, or more widely known as the headless AT-ST set. This feels like half a set, completely unfinished and put into a box to sell to fans. A full AT-ST would only add a few extra pieces, $10 or so more expensive, and easily be one of the cooler sequel sets, but it was ruined with a build that has close to no play features and no displayability. The minifigures are fairly decent, notably the Captain Phasma, which is always great to see, but overall, this is a really disappointing LEGO Star Wars set. Overall, by looking at what I think are good sets and what are bad sets, the good definitely outweighs the bad. And quite honestly, I have to admit that despite the sequels being generally bad, the LEGO sets attached to them are really cool and some of my favorite LEGO Star Wars sets. Comment your opinions down below and let me know what are your favorite sequel sets. Other than that, God bless you and I'll see you in the next one.